Hello folks, I hope that you are just having the best day in your life today. Today we're going to be taking a look at another selected short stories of Philip K. Dick for you. We're taking a look at the fantasy short story, The King of the Elves. And if you're like, I didn't know that Philip K. Dick did fantasy, neither did I. So we'll be taking a look at The King of the Elves short story for him. It was published in the 50s. I do enjoy this. It's a modern fantasy story. I'm going to be giving it an 8 out of 10. I did like it. I think it's fine. I did enjoy it. So let's take a look and see what's going on. Now, you know who Philip K. Dick is. You know who he is. He's a famous, influential science fiction writer. A guy who's influenced a ton of films, modern day writers, and a lot of other things too. And his stuff tends to be dark or comedy, or comedic, and sometimes a dark comedy. In the case of one of the films that I've already reviewed for y'all, one of the movies rather, that I reviewed for y'all, named Duke. But still, you've got the idea here of going on and having these sorts of things happening. So what's going to happen with our short story? We're going to open up. Our protagonist is an elderly gentleman who's getting older, and age is starting to affect his body, and his mind maybe a little bit too, according to his neighbors. And he owns a gas station, so he's a gas station owner, and the sole person who works at it. So he's the lone attendant, the owner, and the lone worker that works at the gas station. Now, ever since the main highway was built, the business and traffic to this town has obviously dried up, and he'll go hours without anybody coming by and buying some gas in his small little town. Well, one night the rain is hitting, and it's hitting hard, and a group of tiny little creatures, which look like they might be gnomes or elves or something like that, comes up across the thing. They're in the middle of the rain. There's a litter of them being carried. One of them is being carried on a litter by some of the other ones. They arrive. They announce that this is the King of the Elves. He offers them to stay in his house because, obviously it's raining. And so they spend the night at his house. He comes home, introduces himself to the elves, these tiny little elves. And they're cute. They're not like big giant elves in Tolkienian world. But yeah, he introduces himself. The king does as well. They spend dinner together, and then the king spends the night at night. At night, the king passes away and dies. And then we find out, like a page later or so, that our protagonist has been appointed the King of the Elves, who believes that this tall giant stranger will be able to save them from the trolls that have been ravaging their kingdom, and which attacked them on the previous night while they were leaving the Elven kingdom in the rain. So they believe that this human, this old human, and so he has been named the King of the Elves. And that's where probably the story title comes from. And there you go. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. It's a fantasy story. It's fun. 8 out of 10. I did enjoy it. I think it was well paced. It didn't take that much of my time. It was a short story. It probably took 20 minutes for me to read it last night for the first time. And I definitely enjoyed it, so I want to bring it to your attention. When I looked up Philip K. Dick to say if on his Wikipedia page, if he'd written fantasy or if he was a speculative fiction writer or something that would indicate it, nope. It just says he's science fiction. I don't know how many fantasy short stories he's written, but this is clearly fantasy short story. He doesn't have like a science fiction explanation for it. So this is very interesting, and I'd be interested to know how many other fantasy short stories are out there. So there you go. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. That was The King of the Elves by Philip K. Dick. Have you read it? Have you heard of it? Did you know that he wrote fantasy short stories? Apparently. What did you think of it? Did you agree or disagree with my take or something else? If you'd like to take a deep dive into the short story, I would love to talk with you further about it in the comments below. If you like this video, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow in fantasy, science fiction, and horror. And then finally, hey, I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day, investing it, and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, right? And we're being pulled in so many different directions. So the fact you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have a great day.